Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Stranger Rings podcast. Today we are diving into WWE ECW, a dark time in 2006 wrestling. I am Corey.
I'm Tom.
And Tom, this is we are in the middle of December here when this is dropping, and it's only fitting to talk about the only WWE ECW exclusive pay-per-view, December to Dismember 2006.
I feel like I was talking about this with somebody else on Twitter. I feel like it's a rite of passage as a wrestling podcaster that you have to cover this event.
Yes, I hadn't watched it up until this point, so it was something. Uh, a lot of people hate this show. It's consistently ranked as one of the worst of all time for pay-per-views. But I mean, there's some good spots here. I'm not going to completely shit on it. I didn't think it was the worst array of matches I've ever seen.
Yeah, the talent worked hard, and I think for about half of the show, I was just really sad that I was watching it. But then I think that the final match made up for it a little bit, both in just what the hell is going on, and also there was some really good action for a good part of the match.
Yeah, I think what really hurt part of this was the lack of ECW originals on the show, because like they had just launched again for the ECW on Sci-Fi, and you only get you get Heyman's appearance, you get RVD, you get
Sabu,
Balls Mahoney, Sabu.
Balls Mahoney. By the way, Balls Mahoney, one of my MVPs on this show.
You get Balls Mahoney, you get Sandman briefly, and you get Tommy Dreamer. And Sabu is not even in the match he's scheduled for. So there's only like 5 or 6 there of the originals that you actually get.
Right. And
and the FBI. I got to throw them in there.
Yeah, put some respect on Lil Guido Maritato, who we kind of met at that one event. Do you remember when he broke his ankle and was limping around holding a beer to his leg?
Yes, and then it was like during intermission, he went out and got a hot dog from like the trailer that they were cooking from.
Yeah, there was a tailgating going on at the J-Lit tournament for AIW, and I shout out to Little Guido for wrestling on a broken ankle.
Yeah, and Super Crazy, I think that was the same night Super Crazy hurt himself.
Yeah, he almost broke his neck.
Oh,
that
my
was
God.
scary.
There was a lot of talent on that card, just not the bottom, or wait, what? The bottom rope broke at one point?
The bottom rope.
There was a lot of bad things happening. Just it was snake bitten.
Yeah, I went to the up with Chase Oliver's before his debut match. We went up that Friday night beforehand. I stayed for the practice and everything, and them like we left Cleveland at about 2 a.m. We got back home at like 3:30 or 4. I got like 3 hours of sleep, then went to coach a baseball game. Then I went to your house and we drove up for the morning show of J-Lit, and then we went to Red Robin and then came back and watched the final show of J-Lit. That was a weekend.
It was a good day. Good day. Anytime you get Red Robin and wrestling, or like a wrestling sandwich with Red Robin in the middle, you're good to go.
Absolutely. Great times.
So what is a great time is the beginning of this show to me. I think we have a hidden gem here in the first match. First we get a pyro open, which is nice, and you get a promo about the Elimination Chamber that's coming up, the Extreme Elimination Chamber that night. And Styles drops in their opening promo the Joey Styles, not AJ. And Joey Styles says, "Augusta might be infamous after tonight," and man, was he right.
Absolutely. And one of the best parts of this show, even though his commentary didn't really do it for me on this show, but the legendary figure himself, fashion watch icon Taz.
Taz was here and he was looking fresh. He had he had a nice suit on, the shades. He was ready to go.
I had the fashion watch lined up for him. He's wearing a black suit, white pinstripe shirt, orange and black checkered tie, orange pocket square, and orange and black sunglasses. He was silent and profiling, man. Let me tell you.
He knows how to match his shit together.
He does. Taz looking fly as always.
Yes. So we got Joey Styles and Taz here, which is a nice combo because you got the original play-by-play guy and probably the perfect person to put on commentary with him, and the human suplex machine. He's like maybe the guy you think of when you think of ECW, and
Right.
So that's a good commentary team. Good group to put together. And then another good group to put together is Eminem and the Hardys, who have a tag team match here. And let me tell you, if you haven't watched this, it's worth actually booting up December to Dismember and checking out this tag match.
Or you just turn on the WWE Network and watch it right now because the match is still going on. It was a great match, don't get me wrong, but holy shit. What was it, 25 minutes?
Yeah, it was, I think I looked on the Wikipedia and it was 22 and a half or something.
Jeez.
Which is a long time for an opener and a tag match. And it wasn't even for the tag belts, was it?
No, just a grudge match. They showed earlier that the Hardys had made their comeback as a team. They had beat Sylvester Terkai and Elijah Burke on ECW, and then Eminem just ran in and did a beatdown on them, and that set up the match here at December to Dismember.
Man, Eminem, like, this match did go on a long time. Like, it could have been 13 minutes and we would have been fine. But they did do a lot of good things here. It was just, it felt like it was going for, it's like a third of the show, honestly.
It is, and that was my only issue with it, was the fact that if this match was 13 minutes, it'd be legitimately a match where I could say, like, holy shit, I will watch this anytime, anywhere. This is phenomenal. But it was like after one of the hot tags, it just died.
Yeah,
for about 10 minutes, and then
yeah, and they saved it after, though. Like, they had some good spots at the end, but
they did.
Man, it was long. It was very long, but I think it might be a hidden gem though, because nobody remembers that this match happened, and it was for where it was on the card and this pay-per-view, good.
Right. No, I agree with you. Like, it was, I think, comfortably the best match on this show.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Eminem, if everybody remembers, it's not the rapper Eminem. It is Mercury, Nitro, and Melina. A great tag team from the mid 2000s that people may forget sometimes, because now you remember Joey Mercury as the bald dude that was in the security team.
J&J Security, which J&J Security might have lasted longer than Eminem did, because Eminem they were only around for about a year, then they got split, and then they teamed for about another 4 months.
Yeah, and Joey Mercury blew his nose off his face in that one match.
Yes,
so that really hampered their run. But
poor Joey Mercury.
God, that was terrible. But yeah, and then Joey Mercury, I think, had some personal issues after that, and that kind of led to Eminem and the ascension of Johnny Nitro into John Morrison too. So Eminem was short-lived, but it was a great idea for a gimmick.
It was, and I'll tell you what, they had some fits they wore. Like, they were wearing these fur coats with red reflectors on them, like you would see like a stop sign color type thing. Like, it looked like something you'd find on the back of a bike. It was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, the fur coat, and they had like they had the pants with the furry boots. And then, Melina was always looking like, some Hollywood woman. They were all the A-listers. And then you get the Hardys. There's a lot of fashion watches in this match right here. Because, first thing I saw was that Mercury has braids, which I couldn't believe.
Yep. And so did Jeff.
Yes. And then my mind was blown because Jeff comes out with braids. So obviously that was some kind of trend in late 06.
Because I remember asking my parents, like, hey, if I grow my hair out, can I braid it like the Hardys? No, not really. But there had to have been people out there that really thought that. So, man.
Oh, man. And then Elijah Burke had braids.
And a hat.
Later.
He wore a hat.
He had a do-rag hat, but we'll talk about that later.
Yep.
But the Hardys, so this match starts off, pretty nice. You get the Hardys working an arm for a while. And then the first big spot I think we get is a wheelbarrow back suplex by the Hardys, which was a very unique move.
Oh, I remember seeing that before and my mind being blown. Like, I think I might have seen them do it to like the FBI or somebody like that, but this was one of the coolest moves of the match, and they busted it out so early. It was nice.
Yeah, that's a wild move. I can't believe nobody uses that right now.
Yeah.
It could be a finish, really, if you did it right. It could be like the backdrop of doom.
Yes, the backdrop of doom. Take me back. But
If you get dropped on your head in the backdrop, if it's like a Japanese wrestling backdrop, it's the backdrop of doom.
it is. It will always be called that. So one of our favorite backyard wrestling finishers out there. But yeah, Nitro. After that, Nitro ends up getting he misses a shooting star press, and we get into our first hot tag. Like, Matt gets beat up for a little while, and then makes the hot tag to Jeff, and Matt also hits I'm sorry, it was the other way around. Jeff made the hot tag to Matt, and Matt hit a second rope razor's edge on Johnny Nitro.
Yes, it was like it was sit out too, I think.
Yeah, it was the Splash Mountain Bomb.
Oh my God, that was ridiculous for so early in the match. And around this time, the amazing ECW fans here, who sometimes just say anything that comes to mind, started chanting, "She's a crack whore" at Melina.
She didn't even do anything bad up to
No,
this
she was
point
just standing
either.
there.
And they're just like, it's a woman. We have to say something nasty to her. Like, that's that's the ECW crowd, man. And I wouldn't have thought that got that reaction. Like, maybe in Philly, but
Yeah,
Jesus.
she hadn't even like done anything in the match. She was just standing there, minding her own business, and this is what they did to her.
Yep. And then she was like, all right, if you want to call me that, then I'm just going to scream throughout this entire match 6 or 7 times.
Taz had some ridiculous lines on commentary throughout the show, the whole show.
He did.
And when she did the primal scream, is what he calls it, he was just like, "Joey, I love that." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "It's just a primal yell."
He sounded. I bet you Vince McMahon was like, it sounded like something he would be yelling through the headset. Be like, "You need to say this."
Taz just like this match, and there's a couple others where he has some lines where I'm just like, "Oh my God," he's like pure comedy.
Yeah.
But Taz also said, this is another awful thing he says. When she screams a second time, Taz says, "Michael Cole didn't like that, but he doesn't like women."
Oh no, I didn't catch
God.
that.
It was the worst thing because she screamed. He was like, get annoyed by that, but he doesn't really like women.
Jesus.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
That was a big John Cena plot point too, like making fun of Michael Cole's sexuality, and it's like he's married with children.
Yeah, that was a big thing when he was rapper Cena. He always said, he liked the boy bands or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, but so Taz is out here wilding on the mic, and then Eminem starts to isolate Matt, and they actually steal Poetry in Motion and hit him with it.
I love that spot. Like, and I'm shocked that people haven't done it more to the Hardys, because like that's genius to take another tag move.
Yeah, and after they hit that, Mercury goes to try to steal the Twist of Fate, but you can't do that to him. You already stole one move. You can't steal a second. So Matt counters, and then Jeff gets tagged in, where he then botches a forearm off the ropes.
Immediately, as soon as he comes in, I'm like, okay, good try, but he made up for it. He had a really nice front suplex, the Gourd Buster on Nitro. Like, he dropped him on his face.
Yeah, that was the only like real botch of the match, but like it was just bad because the camera cut and you could just blatantly see it like right at the right time. It's one of those unfortunate camera cuts.
Right. It happens, and then did you like how Matt came in for absolutely no reason, just to beat up Mercury, and then jumped over the top rope on him?
Yeah, he clotheslined to the outside, and then this is where it like really starts to pick up. I think. Yeah, this is after the weird hot tag where it just died down again for like 8 minutes. But after Matt clotheslines, Cactus clotheslines himself and Mercury over the ropes, we get Johnny Nitro with the dive.
Yeah, Johnny Nitro hit the big dive, and then Jeff climbed to the top rope and hit a big splash on everybody, and I wrote "Wow" with an exclamation point because, God damn it, I was impressed.
Yeah, and the crowd was impressed too. You get your first ECW chance of the night, and guys, this is a perfect two teams to put together to have a match like this, though, with high spots and everything.
Right, and they had really good chemistry. I think they end up having a really good match at the Royal Rumble in '07, and it was a little bit like, I think it was about a 14-minute match, and they really went off there. They had an excellent contest, if I'm not just completely making that up. Because
it sounds right.
Because there was a spot in that match where it was a blind tag to Jeff, and I think he ended up getting the Swanton and winning. I thought that was this match.
Okay, yeah. The Royal Rumble's like 3 or 4 weeks after this, so that is probably what happened.
Yeah, but
we'll go with it.
Yeah, for now, it's canon now. So,
yes.
We end up getting the poetry in motion, and then Matt hits a twist of fate on Mercury, but Jeff can't hit the Swanton because Nitro pulls Mercury out of the ring.
Yeah, and that was nice because I thought that was just going to be the finish there, real quick.
Right.
And then it brings it back to where Eminem cuts Jeff off after he misses the Swanton, and they give Jeff a wild bump to the outside, and then Melina gets to get some shots in. So if they chant at her, we understand more. But
that's the logic.
It was not good.
But yeah, I felt like at this point was where the match really slowed down because thoughts, but like this is where like you want to build to. I forget who said it. It might have been Al Snow or someone, where they said that the biggest pop of the match should be the finish. Yeah. And like they ended up getting a big pop during the finish, but I felt like the biggest was when like Jeff was about to hit that Swanton and then they pulled him out of the way.
Yeah, it was a big moment. I think if they would have kept going into like high spots from here and ending it pretty quickly after, it would have been all right. But then they go in here and like after, Melina gets her shots in, Jeff gets thrown in the ring and like Mercury holds him in like a front face lock for a while or a side headlock, something.
Yeah.
And he's like, tap, and Melina's doing like the cut it out gesture, like across her neck. Uh-huh. And this is where Taz drops another line. And he says, I think that gesture means that Melina's saying Taz is hot.
Jesus, he was shooting his shot. He didn't care if he was married or whatever his relationship status was at that point. He's like, I got to go for it here.
And Joey Styles was just like, I don't think that's what it means. Like it was just like deadpanning Taz. He's like, I don't know why you're doing this.
Man, to think that Taz is now choking out Cody Rhodes on AEW when he could be creating comedy gold like this.
Yeah, exactly. And then when he went to TNA, he got the let the pigeons loose line. So he was always hitting on all cylinders when this kind of shit happened. But this is where I really started to realize that we weren't near the end. Because my next note was, they are giving this a lot of time.
It's still going to this very day in Cameron, North Carolina, in that little garage that Matt Hardy has where he had Impact. You can see them still wrestling at each other. Like, companies be damned. They're still going at it.
Oh, my God. So while they're working back towards another hot tag here, because Jeff had been cut off for a while, until he got up and hit the Whisper in the Wind on Eminem. So we get the hot tag to Matt. He goes in and hits a side effect on both members of Eminem. And then he also hits a second rope leg drop on Nitro, which was nice.
It was.
Let me see what else here.
The crazy aided Frankensteiner by Nitro on Jeff.
Oh, yes. That was insane. They were on the second rope for it looked like a power bomb.
Uh-huh.
And Mercury pushed Nitro up to the power bomb position, and then Nitro hit the Frankensteiner.
Yeah, it was, man. You don't think that the heels would be doing high flying stuff, but it was nice to see them get a chance to show out.
Yeah, and this is one of the longer matches because Nitro and Mercury are still pretty young in the company at this point. Like neither one
Right.
of them really had a singles run or anything. So it's nice to see, what they could do because this is an extended match where they don't get a lot of these for tag matches.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember other than like main event tag matches. I can't remember any tag matches during this time getting time. Because like you had the Spirit Squad and the Highlanders shit and London and Kendrick who were great, but like they just didn't get a lot of time to show their stuff.
Yeah, they got like 10 minutes and then they were like, all right, let's get out. Let's get on
Yep.
with our lives.
Yep.
Yeah, the only tag match that might have got like some time at this point was like when they would do the All-Star ones. Like, what did they do?
DX.
Michaels and Cena against like Batista and Taker.
And DX got time as well, like whoever they wrestled, but which you can check out on our 3-part DX reunion trilogy. So, got to make the cheap plug there.
Yes, you can go back and download all 51 or so episodes that we have now.
Yes, because we actually we'll get to it a little bit later once we're done with December to Dismember, but we'll have to talk a little bit about it being our first anniversary, by the way.
Yes, we will we'll discuss that at the end. But yeah, we are at December 16th is the actual date where we, I think, uploaded the first. We had like 3 episodes in the first day to get on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, and that's where I think it was to the day here, December 16th.
Yeah, either that or the first day when we recorded, but it was one of those for sure.
Yes, but it's been a quick year, I feel like. Well, it's been a very long year because of COVID,
yes.
But it's also been a quick year for the podcast, I feel
Absolutely. Like. No, I 100% agree, and we're still going strong, man. I love it.
Yes, pushing through. And pushing through this match here because we still got like 38 more minutes left, it feels like. But they hit, there's a lot of good spots here, though. Like the superplexes, each Hardy is in a corner and they do the superplexes at the same time.
Yeah.
And they go to pin Nitro here, but this is where Melina jumps on the apron and calls the ref over because, she has to get involved.
Right. She's got to do it. And finally, this is after her like 6th or 7th scream during the match where
Taz is loving every minute.
It got heat each time, even though like the placement was kind of strange each time. But I mean, it got heat. So shrug.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it worked out. But This is a wild spot here because this gets the crowd to pop. So, I mean, Al Snow's thing might have been right because this was almost as big of a pop as the Swanton, I think.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. When Melina went to hit Jeff Hardy and Nitro went for a drop kick on Jeff and Jeff moved out of the way and got Melina, and Melina took like a flat back bump to the floor from the apron.
Yeah, she hit hard. It was a huge bump.
Oh my God. I give her so much credit for taking that because I would have if I was her, probably would have just taken it to my feet and fell to the floor. But she's like, nope, let me take the full Mick Foley bump.
Yeah, good for her, man. She just did not give a shit there. And then this is where, traditionally this is your finish to a match, but not this one because Jeff rolls up Nitro, but only gets a 2 count.
And then Matt breaks. Then we get to the Eminem and the Eminem. I sound like I'm an old white person talking about the rapper Eminem. But Eminem goes for the snapshot, which is the flapjack DDT that they do as their finish, which it looks awesome. It's kind of like a 3D, but it looks great. And they hit it on Jeff, but Matt breaks it up for the 2 count. Like Matt was looking really strong during this match.
Yeah, and the snapshot is an awesome move.
It is.
And, they hit it on Jeff, so you think that's going to be it. But no, this match continues. But, I mean, this is like all good stuff happening right here. It's just that lull in the middle that was rough. But then they go for the top rope snapshot here. And Matt counters into a double twist of fate off the second rope.
Very cool move. I was not expecting him to actually hit it either. That was amazing.
Yeah, they were working hard at the end here. It was a very exciting ending because after that they put Nitro and Mercury stacked up, and then Jeff hits a nasty fucking swanton on him. He lands right in the dead center of their backs and
killed him.
And that's where you get your pinfall after about 23 minutes. Jeff pins one of them. I don't know who it was, but he landed on both of them. So they both got to feel the body weight of Jeff Hardy.
I think it's probably because like I don't know. I don't think he's used to hitting that big of a target either.
Yeah.
Like because they're stacked onto each other. But either way, it looked like an RVD frog splash where he just kind of wince when it hits.
Yeah, it definitely looked like it hurt. Like they were sore the next day after that. But a good match from the Hardys and Eminem to start. I don't know. I would have put this maybe in the middle of the show if it was going to have that much time, but still a good match nonetheless. So December to Dismember started off pretty well.
It did. It was a hot start. And then, like it just, there's a reason that I tweeted the picture of Teddy Long, who looked disheveled in a limo after I was done with the match or not with the event, because it there's a little bit of a lull, to put it nicely, after this match.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better from here.
No.
This is about as high as it gets here. Speaking of as high as it gets, we get Rob Van Dam cutting a promo.
Lovely transition. Love it.
And he looks a little fried, but he does his, I'm going to be the champion because I'm Rob Van Dam. He does his stoner little, he's the cool guy that says like 8 words.
Yeah, and at least he put over the severity of the match, like how extreme it's going to be. But it's still like a Rob Van Dam WWE promo is normally not very good.
No, but he does hype the chamber, so that's good. Mm-hmm. But after this, we get everyone's teacher, Matt Striker, the legend himself, and Balls Mahoney.
I never thought that I would see that on a WWE pay-per-view. That seems like something that I would see on a New Jersey independent show in 2004. But you know what? I'm here for it because we got another fashion watch with Matt Striker. He's wearing what Taz refers to as a fuchsia sweater, and he's wearing it's sleeveless, of course, show off the guns, and he also is wearing tights with his face on his ass.
Yes, and it was uncomfortable because they brought it up on commentary, and they kept showing the picture of him on his ass, and that was something.
And there was I just want to get it out of the way now, Joey Styles quote that made Taz almost cry on commentary. He said, "Never trust a man who wants to sit on his own face."
Yeah, that.
Yep.
I feel like that's words to live by.
Yep. I honestly. So like Taz was laughing so hard he almost like puked. So,
he had to hit the cough button on his mic. He was trying to regain his composure.
Yep. And Joey's like, "I'm probably gonna get fired now."
Oh my god, that was ridiculous. But how do you feel about the Matt Striker character at this point?
I think that he showed a lot of charisma, but I think in this role, like a teacher, like unless you're the genius Lanny Poffo, like I don't think that a kind of teacher type role is really going to work. Like if you look at Dean Davis or if you look at Matt Striker, it's just there's a way to do a heel that's smarter than everybody else, like a Chris Jericho in 2008 when he was doing his thing. Like you can do it, but I don't know if it works when you're literally playing a teacher.
So I used to remember the Strikers classroom that they would do randomly, and it was always like he always got heat, but it wasn't like he was going to go far with it.
Right, exactly.
But I do love that they brought him out on this night, and they announced like from Batavia High School, social studies teacher or whatever, and I was like, what the fuck?
I loved that, and I actually really enjoyed Matt Striker's promo here where he asked like, "Do you guys like violence?" and everybody cheered. He's like, "Do you like," and he said, do you think that I'm extreme?" And they all said no. He's like, "Would you like to see me in an Extreme Rules match?" And everybody cheered, of course. And he said, well, this match that I'm going to be wrestling in is an Extreme Rules match. It's the extreme enforcement of the rules match.
Yes, and that means there's no top rope maneuvers, no eye gouging, no hair pulling, and no foul language.
That's what got me. Oh my God. It was officially a Strikers Rules match. And let me tell you, I, I, I did enjoy this. Like, the match wasn't great, but I just enjoyed the concept a whole lot.
Yeah, and it puts Balls Mahoney in a bad spot. It's a perfect heel thing for Stryker to do. But then Taz did a good job here hyping up that Balls Mahoney was an amateur wrestler back in high school until he punched out a referee.
Yep. So he's never allowed to do it again. But so for having literally the worst name of any professional wrestler of all time, um, he, this man can actually wrestle. Like he did a very good job during this match. I thought he was a lot better than Stryker even in the ring.
Yeah, and just some of this is like a 6-minute match. Most of these are after the Hardy Marathon.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get like Balls Mahoney hits a leapfrog, a hip toss, some actual like mat switches, and a cross arm breaker very early in the match.
It was like I thought that we were gonna go for Shooter Mahoney here, and he was about to Ronda Rousey Matt Stryker, but unfortunately we didn't get that. But we did get a very nice slap from Matt Stryker to cut him off.
Yes, and then Stryker goes against his own rules and I can't say it this way, pulls Mahoney's hair. I was going to say something else, but I just realized it was going to come out weird. And that in my note after he pulled the hair was that bastard. He's going against his own rules. Yeah. But Stryker, he's doing a great job of working his character, and Taz has a great fucking line right here again about Stryker's face on his pants. He says, I bet his breath stinks."
Jesus Christ.
This whole show, the commentary, they didn't care.
No, they had given up at that point. They're like, this is the last time that they're going to let us call more than one match on a pay-per-view. We might as well go for it.
Oh my God. And the two men went for it here. We got Balls on the top rope, but that's not allowed. So he has to get down from there. And then Stryker almost kills himself on a back bump off the body drop. He like rotated really weird.
Yeah, he did.
And then shortly after this, we get a sit-out spine buster by Balls Mahoney to end the match.
Yeah, and it was kind of out of nowhere, but it got a little bit of a pop, and I wrote, okay, Mahoney is actually good at wrestling. What the hell? Yeah. He sold the arm through the whole match. He worked the crowd. Like, he was a very good babyface, and I could see why WWE kept him for like another year or so, because he could get a decent match out of people.
Yeah, good for him. He's not one of those guys you think of when you think of good technical matches, but he showed that he was capable.
Yes, he could do more than swing a chair, but I'll tell you what, that man gave some of the nastiest chair shots that I have ever seen anybody deliver.
Took some nasty chair shots too.
Yep. God bless Balls Mahoney. Ridiculous name.
R.I.P. Right?
Yeah, R.I.P. Though.
I was gonna say I couldn't remember if he had passed or not.
Yeah, one of those guys from ECW that he lived very hard from what it seems like, but left a great memory in the eyes of the fans.
Yes. And some other great memories here is a very young CM Punk that we get to see after this. We get a quick shot of him doing his anaconda, like snake looking wrist
hands. Yeah.
He's warming up, and then after that it cuts to Sabu, who is hurt in the back. And Paul Heyman and some medical personnel are checking on him. And he is supposed to be in the Extreme Elimination Chamber in the main event. So this puts a wrinkle in some of the plans here.
Yeah, and Paul Heyman, he had a history with Sabu. So actually yesterday, I think I was talking with you, I actually had been watching some matches from WWECW. Mm-hmm. And I was watching Sabu against like Kurt Angle. Like they had a match, and Sabu and RVD had a random ladder match. Like this was all on ECW TV, and it wasn't bad. Like it was really weird, but I'm like, but anyway, Sabu actually had an Extreme Rules match against Paul Heyman. And
Oh,
yeah, and they ended up doing a bunch of interference, and Paul Heyman ended up beating Sabu. But they had history here with Big Show and Sabu and all those guys. So this was built too. So it was really weird. Heyman pretend to be upset because you knew he was lying, which he plays such a great heel authority figure.
yeah, you knew he was in on it. And so Sabu is getting stretchered out, and they're like, I think they say, like, he might have broken his neck. Like, some random, like, medical personnel says that. It was weird. They really sold the severity of it. But when we get cut back to the announcers, the fans are chanting bullshit already.
Yep. It's not a great start, like, the show. Because even with these two matches, like, you could be like, okay, this pay-per-view might work out. Like, things are going for it. And that was like the beginning of the end.
Yeah, that was the first mess up here in the booking of the show. The next one might be the fact that Sylvester Terkai was allowed to wrestle.
You mean Man Bear Pig?
What?
His nickname was the Man Bear. Like,
God.
So Man Bear Pig from South Park is Sylvester Terkai. There, so
so we have Elijah Burke, aka the Pope, the man.
I was so happy to see him here.
Yes, a young Elijah Burke, and there's some things in these ECW shows, and even those ones on Sci-Fi where you get a lot of like new talent, and some of these guys turned out to make a name for themselves, whether it's in the company or in TNA or Ring of Honor, and it's
like the Pope was excellent, and I'm disappointed that COVID happened because we would have had a chance to actually meet the Pope.
Yes, he was around here locally signing autographs at a collectible store, and I was hyped, but it sucks that COVID is going on here because the Pope would have been great.
Yes, it would have been like, listen, we talked about you on our podcast. Actually, I probably wouldn't have been that forward to say that. I would have just been like, dude, you were great in TNA.
Oh my God. So not as great here. We have Elijah Burke, Sylvester Terkai, who are out here in their warm-ups, like they're straight up Adidas warm-ups. And this is where Fashion Watch, again, we have the brimmed do-rag by Elijah Burke.
His hat looks like that Elroy Jetson from the Jetsons. Like, that's what it looks like. But he has room cut for his braids to be in it. So it was... I've never seen anything like it, but I have something against people wrestling it with wearing hats. Like Jeff Hardy did it for a while, and I don't know what it is, but just take your fucking hat off. It's disrespectful.
I honestly didn't know that anybody wrestled with a hat on. Yeah. I mean, I knew what's his name. Like, people have done it with bandanas, but I never realized that.
Right. Just disrespectful. No, but no. Take your hat off when you're indoors. But no. In this promo, Elijah Burke, this is the second of 4 heel promos, like before the matches, to make this show over 2 hours so the cable companies won't get angry at them. But Elijah Burke has the immortal quote here that tonight, Sylvester Terkai and him, like a wild animal in heat, we will leave our mark.
Okay.
That was a thing that was said.
Something there. Burke could have been a star, though.
Absolutely. Like, he had such a good chance of it, but I don't know what happened. I think he's a champion in the NWA now, which is great. Good.
Yes, I'm happy about that. So we get the FBI, Tony Mamaluke, and Nunzio, or Little Guido, and Trinity, who I never knew she existed until she came out here.
Yeah, the only thing that I ever remember was in ECW. Like, they did a Halloween costume contest in like 2006 for the Divas, and she wore caution tape.
Oh,
like just caution tape, and I'm like, okay, I remember that from being 10 years old. But
yeah,
that's the only thing I ever. So I guess she was with the FBI. So that's.
Okay. Yeah. I saw on her Wikipedia she was in TNA at one point too.
Really? Oh my God. She was on the show before. She was in She was on the first TNA show.
Oh, okay. I didn't
She
know
was
that, but good for
she was
her.
part of that group of women, I think.
Okay, yeah, good for her. She had to subject herself to that awful TNA show.
Yeah. So, but which is one of my favorite episodes, by the way.
It is, yeah, it was ridiculous. I like looking at the first shows of things and the last shows of things too, because it's always something random and something thrown together.
Right. Hopefully, we'll never see the last Impact show because that thing is going to go on longer than WWE at this
Oh
point.
yeah, and you can't kill it.
No matter what. You can try, but Vince Russo has.
Multiple times.
Oh, God. We're going to get angry tweets from Vince Russo people now.
Oh
no.
my god. No, we gave him a decent amount of credit on some shows, so.
True. The only shit we really gave him was for the reboot.
And we said that the idea in theory was good and that the first part of it was okay.
Right. So, he has some good ideas. Like, it's just the amount of them is compared to the bad ideas is where we get to the issue here. But he's got a lot of wrestling would not be the same without Vince Russo.
Very true. Very true. I completely agree with that. He did bring elements that we had never seen before into the wrestling world.
Right. I mean, we got a whole episode out of The Undertaker trying to embalm Stone Cold Steve Austin alive. And we also got another one of The Undertaker trying to marry Stephanie McMahon against her will. So
yes,
we got 2 episodes out of Vince Russo, which we gave him a lot of credit for. So
we'll see a lot more of that stuff in the future here too.
Right.
So this match, again, another 6-minute match here where we just get there's only a couple, good spots here where little Guido steals Elijah Burke's hat, which was nice, and he wore it around.
And he gave him an arm drag and was like, that was my highlight of the match right there.
Taz said that little Guido looked like he was going to deliver pizzas with it on.
And when he said that, a chant started that "Where's my pizza?" was a chant.
Oh my god!
So it was perfect timing.
Oh, so then Sylvester Terkai finally gets into the ring here, and he looks very generic. He's wearing his Create a Wrestler starter kit of just a black singlet and knee pads.
Yep, and we should comment too that Sylvester Terkai is a legitimate amateur wrestling all-American MMA fighter who I think he competed against Kurt Angle in college. So this is a legitimate badass here. And they really thought a lot of him, but the booking just never really worked, and I don't think he ever had the charisma to really get over.
Yeah, it's one of those. They're half of those guys make it and half don't, and he just ended up on the don't side of it.
Right, but at least we got to talk about him on the show.
Yes, he got to Spartan kick the fuck out of Tony Mamaluke, which was nice, and then he threw little Guido onto Mamaluke, so he did get a nice little shine there.
He did.
And then it wasn't much, but he got a little bit to shine.
Yeah.
And Mamaluke and little Guido finally end up taking Terkai down to his knees after they double drop kick his knees. But shortly after, Elijah Burke hits the Elijah Experience for the win.
And the Elijah Experience... Oh, my microphone just attacked me. The Elijah Experience is the stroke, the Jeff Jarrett finisher, because it all comes back to Jeff Jarrett at the end of the day.
It all does. His influence is being felt in AEW as we speak.
Yes.
Cody just continues his push.
By the way, I saw the other day, I was at my mom's and I went on Video on Demand, and they actually have old AEW episodes. And the one that I brought up was the one where Cody makes his return and has black hair. And I was so happy.
Oh, the Green Day episode.
I just wanted to play Boulevard of Broken Dreams over it one more time. But
it was amazing. And then he was like, God, I got to switch my hair back.
Yep. So now he's back to normal. Put over Darby Allin, which was very nice of him. And now I think he challenged Shaq.
I heard something about that, but I didn't know the context of it.
I'm not even totally sure, but I know he also got choked out by Taz, which was great. I'm glad that he decided to let Taz do that. But uh, speaking of this, I would want to tune in and watch this, but what I wouldn't want to tune in and watch is this match because it gets change the channel chance from the crowd.
No. Yeah. It's pay-per-view. You can't do that.
It's a waste of $40 to be like,
you
know
paid
what?
For this.
And that's what I tried to remember throughout this. I'm like, you know what? This wouldn't be bad, like as a televised like special on Sci-Fi. But I'm like, people paid $40 for this.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Not good. Not good. So let's see here. What else? Sylvester Terkai does his best Samoa Joe impression after.
Yes, he hits the big muscle buster to no reaction. And then the only reaction after that are the TNA chants that brings.
Because this is the time where Samoa Joe's undefeated in TNA and maybe the best wrestler in the world at that time. Like, he's getting over more than anybody else.
Right, and he at this point was feuding with Kurt Angle, who is a WWECW alumnus,
yes,
I should say.
He is. And when we were recording this, now that we talked about AEW, tonight is Winter is Coming. We are recording this on 12/2. And if this is correct, I believe they're going into the main event right now with Moxley and Omega.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to. I was so excited for this match, and then I forgot that we had the podcast recording thing. And obviously, I would rather do this, but holy shit!
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out who wins. I have the results, I think, for everything but that match.
Oh, we'll have to go over it after the show is over.
Yes, there was only 5 matches, I think.
Oh wow!
One was a some kind of dynamite diamond ring thing, battle royal.
Oh yeah, who won that?
MJF and Orange Cassidy were the last 2.
Oh Lord, I would love to see that feud. It'd be wild.
Yeah. So that's something.
Yeah.
But
it's okay. There's no spoilers because this will be air on the 16th. So
yes, we had Jericho defeat Kaz. Britt Baker defeated Layla Hirsch.
Layla Hirsch is pretty good.
Darby and Cody defeated Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs.
Those are Team Taz guys.
Yes, that's where we're at so far.
Interesting. So Cody, Jeff Jarrett Jr. is undefeated at Winter is Coming. Love to see it.
Yes, and then Moxley will probably lose to Omega. I would take it.
That would be my guess, and it would be cool to see Omega with the belt. But Moxley's had a hell of a reign no matter what. Shout out to him.
Now, completely off topic from what we're supposed to be talking about. The cleaner entrance is the worst thing I've ever seen.
I love it. It's so dumb.
I think that the women doing the sweeping with like an old school broom is just too much. Like, you can be called the cleaner. No one knows why he's called the cleaner. Like, we don't know if he does everybody's laundry, like what's going on. We don't fucking know. But the girls dancing with the brooms is too much.
It's amazing. I love it. It's just so over the top. People still say that he's like a baby face. Like, what kind of face would have that entrance?
Yeah, he's clearly not a baby face.
No.
Like, I don't know why people think that, but they also, like, I know a lot of people say, like, there's no heels or faces in AEW, but that's completely false.
Yeah, they're clearly like Chris Jericho, MJF, like clearly heels. Orange Cassidy a face, Pac a heel. I always call him Pac, like Tupac. It's Pac.
Is it really Pac?
It is.
I always called him Pac too.
Yeah, it's just so I think of Tupac or X-Pac.
Talking about Adrian Neville.
Yes. Big Adrian.
Or just Neville.
Yeah, just he dropped the first name when he became evil. But either way, it's talking about this is better than talking about the next match that occurs. Which, I mean, before that though, we get big news with Sabu getting stretchered into an ambulance as RVD and CM Punk check on him.
Yes, and they just look confused. They don't even really say anything.
No.
They're like, "Oh man, Sabu got fucked up." oh
And
well, let's go have this match.
yeah, and RVD, like at least he has that history with Sabu where they were buddies and everything, so it makes sense. But like, why is CM Punk there?
Exactly. We don't know. We don't know why he's there because he's a face.
What if he did it? What if he did it?
Oh, that would have been good. Yeah.
So
And then they could have put him with the new breed because they start after this, right?
they put him with the new breed for 1 week.
They did. Yes, I remember that.
I can't believe. I remember that was one of the first times while I was watching wrestling that I was confused by a booking decision. The first time ever was when Kevin Federline beat John Cena. I'm like, why would they have that happen? And
because he's one of the best ever to do it.
Check out our Kevin Federline episode as well.
I want
because
that to be the most downloaded episode because Kevin Federline's performance in that fucking feud was incredible.
It was truly like he could have had a future as on like a shitty independent as like heel manager, but we'll never know now.
No, we'll never know. But Sabu, he's gone, so that means there's going to be a replacement named for his spot in the Elimination Chamber. But before we find out that entrant, we get Davari against Tommy Dreamer.
The match that I don't want to talk about because, God, I hated everything about this. It was
terrible.
Yeah, but I'm glad that we got to see that again after our Punjabi prison episode we just did, where I'm like, oh hey, throwback to 06.
It's Davari. Yeah. Davari is underrated though. Like he's a very wrestler. He can talk. He has very nice sparkly purple pants at the pay-per-view here.
He does.
But, he's good.
He cuts his promo in Farsi, but I'll tell you what, if you want to talk about a styles clash, Dreamer.
Yeah, this was a weird pairing. I don't know if there was a feud or anything going on with them, but really the only thing. Do you have anything of note in this match? Because I have like 3 things, I think.
Well, I have that Tommy Dreamer actually managed to get the crowd to chant ECW, which, good for him. That's amazing. Taz compared Great Khali to a small building.
Oh, fucking Taz.
Yeah, and I wrote, I missed some of the match, but essentially Khali interferes / distracts too much and is ejected.
Yes, he pulled down the top rope on Dreamer, and Dreamer flew over it. But before that, the only thing of note that I had before that was that Dreamer hit a Irish whip into the barricade on Davari, and Davari hit very hard. Let me see if I have anything else really that mattered in this match before you get to like the aftermatch stuff.
A lot of chin locks.
Yeah, Khali's ejected, and Tommy Dreamer was throwing hands like Dusty Rhodes at one point. He was doing like the the jive kind of thing. Yeah. And then Dreamer also he went for like a body slam, but laid him onto his feet into the inverted DDT, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, good spot. And then he showed some good babyface fire. The crowd was not really into it because of all the chin locks, but he hits a nice Tree of Woe drop kick towards the finish, but he hits that, he gets a decent pop, and then he goes for a DDT. But that's when Davari decided to roll Dreamer up, hook the tights, and even though it's a ECW pay-per-view, it's an authentic ECW pay-per-view experience because Tommy Dreamer lost.
Yes, he did. He lost by nefarious means here with that Davari, rolling him up with the tights. And then Dreamer's obviously pissed by this because he's a great man and runs back there and is trying to beat up Davari as he goes up the ramp. But instead, we see Dreamer reappear in the grasp of the Great Khali like 2 seconds later.
And he takes one of the nastiest bumps I've ever seen him take. Khali gives him the tree slam, like the double-handed choke slam, onto the metal ramp. And the sound it made was horrifying.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Like, I thought Khali would do it like off the stage and, they'd have like tables already set up. Right. Or something, but no, he just took it right onto that unforgiving steel, which might be the nastiest bump of the night prior to the Elimination Chamber.
Yes, yeah, prior to the Chamber, absolutely, because oh my goodness, and we get a like Dreamer or I'm sorry, Davari and Kali leave, and Dreamer starts telling like the agents that come to help him that he can't feel his feet. And I was just like,
Yes.
oh my God, this is getting too real here.
Yeah, and he doesn't let the medical attention take him though, because he's an ECW guy, so he can barely stand and like staggers and then eventually crawls to the back to a pretty decent ovation for him because he just got his shit rocked by
Even the
Great Khali.
Yeah, because even the crowd was like, they made this like gasp noise like when he hit the metal, and then like they kept quiet throughout the entire time because they're like, oh my God, he really got fucked up.
Yeah, like there was no way, that didn't hurt. There's no way it didn't hurt.
Yeah, and he's already going through emotional anguish of being a part of the ECW creative team.
Oh,
So like he's going through the show, and he actually tried to give his 90 he tried to give his notice and quit after the show, and Vince McMahon wouldn't take it.
who else was on the team that we know of?
I think later on the show after Heyman left, and I think when ECW started to get a little bit good, was Dusty Rhodes of all
Oh,
people.
okay, yeah.
I'd have to look and see for sure, but I think they had Dave Lagana might have been on there for a
Mhm.
while. Like, but this might have been after Paul Heyman because I think Paul Heyman was still the head of the creative
I
process.
Yeah, I think Paul got like sent home like very shortly after this pay-per-view.
Yeah, literally on the plane ride after this pay per view
Oh,
ended.
yeah, very shortly
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
Vince
It
was like, "Get
was
the fuck out."
Yeah, they had like I guess a screaming match after this because we'll go over the booking of the main event later, but it was like the final straw for Paul Heyman, and he said that we said things to each other that should have never been said, like to another human being. On
Oh,
this, I would have loved to have heard this conversation, but
yeah, there needs to be a podcast about that, like with Heyman on it, like if he did
yeah,
the broken skull or whatever.
yeah, I can't imagine it. But what I also could not imagine was we see Paul Heyman again with the fucking big shot himself, the legend, the hardcore legend, Bob Holly.
Yeah, Sparky Thurman plug here. He he is I don't mind hardcore Holly. Like I don't like he's okay.
Yeah,
Um
he's very competent. He showed how tough he was in the CCW by like tearing up his back and still wrestling in that hardcore match against Rob Van Dam, which I'm going to watch probably once I'm done with this. Now that I'm talking about it, but he we he what's the story about what he told Bruce Pritchard?
Oh, they said something, like we always told the guys, like if they didn't like their creative, like don't just say I don't want to do that. Like think of, some idea in place of it to make it better so that we can, if we like that, we'll switch it. And something happened where he was in a meeting and Bruce Pritchard said that Bob Holly was like, I don't like this. And he was like, well, what's your idea? And he was like, I got an idea. Why don't you give me the belt? And he was like, Bruce was like, okay, what do we do after that? He's like, then I'll beat everybody. And it's like, okay, that's a solid plan, but let's try to workshop that a little bit.
Love that. I just want to
Oh,
run. I want to run an indie promotion and bring Bob Holly in and be like, "Listen, Bob, giving you the run. Big Shot Bob himself is going to be the champion of my promotion, and you will indeed beat everybody."
I mean, he had a good move set. The Alabama Slam always looked great.
Yes.
He was always in like great shape, and he's good at everything, but just not like he doesn't
Well,
stand out.
yeah, he can't really talk too well, but
No.
it was great because here even though he was dressed in his gear already, even though he didn't have a match, and Paul Heyman said, "Hey, Sabu's out, you're in." So, and nothing ensues after this because Bob just is pretty much like, "Okay, great. Thanks."
Sounds good there, Paul. How about I
And
beat everybody?
so, he's prepared to beat everybody. And speaking of somebody who should have been beat every time that he wrestles, we get a Mike Knox sighting.
You know what? I wish Hardcore Holly would have beat me so I didn't have to watch this.
This was one
because
of
this was the low point right here.
It was the low point, which, before the main event, I mean, sometimes you want something that'll cool off the crowd a little bit. This crowd didn't need to be cooled down.
No, and they went to a fucking frigid Antarctica cold after this. We get Kevin Knox. What the hell? Isn't he a basketball player?
Yeah, he plays for the Knicks.
I knew it was a real person. We get Mike Knox and his on-screen girlfriend Kelly against Kevin Thorn and Ariel. Is Ariel his girlfriend?
I think so.
Okay, I didn't remember. Somebody had it was the Birchells. They were supposed to be siblings.
Yes.
Okay, so we get Kelly at this point is with Mike Knox, but she's also like doing the expose, and she has developed a liking for CM Punk in storyline, which I actually like that story.
Right. The only thing is, like, you feel bad for Mike Knox. Like, it's like, okay, well, he's with a girl that is openly flirting with another guy, and yet he's still the heel. But he manages to pull it off all right, like the jealous boyfriend.
He does, but I think if I remember correctly, I think he had been like coming out during the expose things and like covering her up.
Right.
So that was getting him over, and like just treating her badly in general. Like,
right.
So it kind of worked because it was like she wasn't like openly like trying to get with CM Punk, but she was like very friendly with him at first.
Right.
And then it just kind of progressed as she got treated worse. I mean, it was a decent slow build to it.
Yeah, well, and I actually remember, because going back to the Halloween costume contest, she dressed like CM Punk. So that's how you put over a fucking storyline right there. Like, she didn't win. She didn't win, but you can't beat caution tape. But
no.
But no, and Kelly was getting over here. Like, she didn't really develop the skill set that she would develop later in her WWE career, but she got over well.
Yeah, and the first thing I said was the CM Punk and Kelly dynamic is interesting, at least. Like, it's something for like that involves three people and gives them a different level to their character that most wrestlers don't get. You don't get like as much of a significant other angle as you would think you would in wrestling.
Right, and I feel like here this had Paul Heyman written all over it, because he likes a good cuck storyline. Like, so like this has him written all over it. Like, he was really protective of Punk, and he wanted him to have like this feud, which it builds to a match well. It's just a shame that Mike Knox couldn't get over here.
Yeah, and what really sets Mike Knox off is that Kelly gets on the mic when they come out in their entrance. She's like, I just want to say good luck to CM Punk in the Elimination Chamber, and he glares at her like Big Show in the one meme where he's like just staring with his eyes wide, and like takes the mic from her. And then we get a very unique entrance from Kevin Thorn and Ariel, who are straight out the Twilight series.
This was too early. It was ahead of its time. Like,
it was. 06. You put this on two years later, and they're probably mid card, decently over.
Yeah, because this is the podcast debut of the legend himself, Kevin Thorn, Mordecai,
Kevin Fertig.
Yes, he'll have his own episode at some point.
He will, because my favorite character that didn't last long is Mordecai.
Yes, and we actually, on that J-Lit show we were talking about earlier, I got to watch Mordecai wrestle Hornswoggle in a match that was far better than it had any right to be. And then didn't you get a chance to finally meet Mordecai like the next day?
Yes, I met Mordecai because we pissed next to each other at separate urinals. I was standing there fucking peeing, and then I turned to the side to like go and use the sink, and Mordecai full ring gear just taking a piss, and I was like, hello. Like, I know how to. He just like gave me the head nod, and I was like, yep, how you doing? Like, we just went about our day.
On that same I think the day before that happened, I met Hornswoggle by saying, hi, what's up? And he said hello to me, and then threw a DVD at the ring announcer.
That's great.
one of my favorite all-time meetings of a wrestler. So,
Oh my God! And wasn't that the same night where Mordecai, because this was held in a
Catholic Church.
Catholic church, he pointed to a picture of Jesus or the Pope, and he said,
Yep.
"This win is for you."
Yes, he did. He dedicated his win to the Savior himself. So, my God, what a performer.
Yes, but not really in December to Dismember times. And he was a decent wrestler. Like he can, get past most stuff. He can be average, but with Mike Knox, it didn't work out.
No, and they're both heels too, so that was the weird thing.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that when I went into it.
Yeah, the only face in this match was Kelly. So, and who had never wrestled before. This was her first ever match.
Jesus, what a bad situation to be in if you're Kelly. And what else is? Can you guess Kelly's age at this time?
Wasn't she like 19?
She was 19. Yes,
That's insane.
she is only 33 now.
That's also insane. Like she got in the business and got out pretty quickly. Like good for her.
Yeah, so she's a 19-year-old kid at this point, wrestling, her first match against Ariel, who had been in the business for probably 5 years at that point, if not more.
And no offense to her, like she's a very good character, I think. Like I loved her character here, but she's never been good in the ring.
No, and then just this whole thing was just bad from the start. The only really good thing that happens is that Mike Knox hits a nasty clothesline, and then Kevin Thorn comes back with one of his own.
I was hyped for a second. I was like, okay, this might be better than I expected. And then like they just kind of trade moves. Like there's no psychology, and it's not even moves. Like they're trading punches and kicks.
Yeah, and then Ariel keeps jumping up on the apron, and this woman was barely wearing anything underneath this very short skirt she had on. So the crowd kept, the crowd was hot for that.
Yeah, they were, and the funny thing was eventually the camera started cutting her out, like they were zooming in on the hard cam, because they're like, okay, well we can't just see her throughout this entire time.
Yeah.
While this is going on, we can't have her distracting from the match.
Yeah, and shortly after this, Ariel gets in, and then Mike Knox is forced to tag in Kelly. And
sadly, because
she is so fucking green at this point. Like she has no idea what she's doing.
No, so they just have her get beat up, like essentially, and like you feel bad for the poor girl because she has no idea what she's doing. Her Ariel, who's the veteran, doesn't have any idea what she's doing, so she just kind of throws like these terrible punches and kicks, and Kelly is just forced to kind of just scream, and like it's very uncomfortable.
And cry. Yeah, she's like crying, screaming, and she finally is able to like get away from Ariel enough to go for the tag, only for Mike Knox to leave and get off the apron so that Kelly gets beat up and pinned.
Yeah, and there was most of the crowd like actually started to boo, but there was a certain segment that started to cheer for Mike Knox, like good for you, bro. Like finally, like this is terrible, but he's like standing up for himself, and it's like it's the worst possible way for you to be doing that. And oh my God, what a fucking mess.
Yeah, it was a mess. It was definitely a mess. But we get a Sandman sighting because somebody has to save Kelly, and there was CM Punk chance, but he cares more about his match than the potential, future relationship with Kelly, I guess.
Right. He wouldn't lower himself to this match, like fighting Kevin Thorn. But and Ariel and Kevin Thorn win, by the way.
Yes, yeah. Ariel and Kevin Thorn win, but at what cost? Because the Sandman comes out here to fuck people up.
Oh, it was great. And Joey Styles in this, because Kevin Thorn had his weird vampire cane. And he's like, oh my God, Sandman's got the Singapore cane. And then Thorn has his cane. This is going to be like a lightsaber fight.
Yeah, he was like, it's going to be like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker out here. And Sandman comes in, and Sandman is very deceivingly smart here, because when you look at the Sandman, you don't think there's a brain cell left. But he comes in here and dodges the cane shot and hits a knee shot with his cane, chopping the man down.
Sandman and psychology, man. Sometimes it happens.
Oh, and then we get Sandman rolls in. He gives a shot to the stomach of Kevin Thorn, then a nice shot to the head, and then he just fucking lets go with like 15 shots as Kevin Thorn is on the ground.
It was, and I'll tell you what, Sandman looked like he was in the best shape of his life here for his
I
WWE
thought about
run.
that too. Yes, he looked like he was in pretty good shape. Like his beer gut was not huge at this point, and his arms looked pretty decent. So
yeah, I was like, wow, look at, he actually looks like, I mean, he would really beat you up in real life.
Yeah, I kind of can't believe it. So, I mean, that's awesome.
It is. So we get a happy ending here for somebody in this match, and it's Sandman who decides to have a beer on the entranceway. And I saw on his arm, I'm pretty sure he has his own face tattooed on his body.
That's what I thought too, which is great.
I love that. It's so ridiculous, but I'm so happy that he decided to do that.
Yeah, I'm so happy he showed up to save that abomination of a match. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we got Kevin Thorn getting beat up and we got a Sandman appearance. So good for him. And yes. After this, we get a man who should have won the WWE or World Heavyweight title, Bobby Lashley, here for a very short promo. He doesn't need to do much talking because he's fucking huge.
Just look at the size of him, man. I mean, he deserved the Rob Conway entrance music. Just look at him.
I mean, Jesus Christ, this guy was like a fucking superhero.
Yeah, I could see why Vince McMahon is like, yes, give him all of the wins. It doesn't matter if he can talk. It doesn't matter how good of a wrestler he is at this point, even though he develops to be very good. But he's just massive.
Oh my God, he's ridiculously big. And, you know, a decent enough wrestler at this point. And I don't think his like short promo here was that bad if they just kept him doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they shouldn't have even had him talk. I don't think they should. I think like they could have had Punk talk, and then you just show Bobby Lashley doing the kickboxing or doing whatever backstage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we get to, you know, it happens, and then we move to Heyman rolling deep with the squad on the way to the ring here. He's got the two armed guards with their riot gear on for some reason.
Yeah, and the Goon Squad.
Who else do we have? Test and Big Show with him?
Yeah, and the Big Shot Bob.
And I'm glad he made it into the squad.
Yeah, he's rolling up. They're rolling deep. They're having a good time. But we finally get a video package for the main event. And I should say finally, but really we're only about an hour and a half into the show. Yeah,
the main event goes like 30 minutes or so.
Yeah. And we also have a promo right before it to really elongate the show. But Big Show in this main event package says that this is the most extreme match ever. And I still think that it's a great idea to put weapons in this match, type of like in the Elimination Chamber, because it's really, I think it livens it up.
Yeah, so the Elimination Chamber itself is one of the best, I think, special match types they've ever done.
Absolutely.
It's so unique. There's a lot of things you can do in there, and it definitely looks brutal. And I like the idea of each pod having its own like signature weapon.
Right.
But I think there should have been more weapons, like one on each thing on the outside, like on the steel parts.
Yeah, or maybe hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, something like that. Because like you could have a ladder in there. You should have more than one table, I think. You know, a couple chairs, Singapore cane. You know, all that stuff.
Right. I agree with you there. And I think that the weapons that were used in this match, a few of them at least, were used like the chair and the crowbar were used like the veterans of this match really used them well. Mm-hmm. But then some of them were kind of ignored, or they were just like minor plot points. But it would have been cool to see more weapons out there. I agree.
Yeah. I do like the fact that each had like a signature weapon though. So that was good. You could still do that, just add a little more to it, I think.
Right.
If they ever revive this.
Right. And I'll tell you though, I really missed having Sabu in this matchup.
Yeah, he would have made it a lot of fun, really. And the video package, I thought this was a really good video package too,
It was. I
because they
agree.
had like the little sound bites of each person, like where they're like, Rob Van Dam is one of the best in the world or whatever, and they have like those little snippets for each person, which was awesome.
Yeah, even test. Even test.
Yes, even Test. Oh
So,
my god, I can't believe the Test was getting pushed in 2006.
yeah, you mean the Punisher Andrew Martin?
Yes, can't believe that happened either.
No.
But so the official match here, before we go into this Heyman promo, it's Lashley, Punk, RVD, Test, Hardcore Holly, and the champion Big Show.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
And to explain the match a little bit further to those of you who have not seen it before, the Elimination Chamber is a huge steel structure that surrounds the ring, and it has four glass pods big enough to hold a wrestler inside the cage. And two guys start, and then after 5 minutes, one of the pods at random opens, and then that happens until all the competitors are in the match, and you can be eliminated by pinfall or submission. So.
Hmm.
So that's so with the Extreme Elimination Chamber, they put a weapon in each pod. So that's basically, for those of you who have not seen it before, that's the gist.
Yes. Yes. And then we get Heyman coming out, who is again the, whatever, the on-screen commissioner of ECW or the
Yeah.
owner, and he cuts a like 5-minute promo here saying that ECW, when Hulk Hogan dies, Hulkamania dies. When Ric Flair dies, the Woo will die. He said, but ECW will live on way past my lifetime.
Which I think is the Tyler Creator meme where it says, "So that was a lie."
Hmm.
Like that, like Hulkamania is not going to die, the Woos aren't going to die, and
Yeah.
ECW is technically dead. I mean, the
Yeah.
spirit will live on, but yeah. So I wrote here that Paul Heyman is out. He is sad boy because he just looks, and his body language and everything. Like, he talks about how he hated this promo because it was like he just had no energy left to give after all the creative differences with Vince McMahon. It was just like this was the last one that he got to do, and then he would be done with it finally. So he did, but it was still a good promo.
Yeah. He was ready to check out of here.
Yeah,
He was like,
but
fire me on this fucking plane, damn it.
yeah, in the way he even talks, like he says he would have loved to see Sabu in the Elimination Chamber, but the days of Sabu, Sandman, and RVD have come to the end. And he puts over the Big Show and says, like how he is the global phenomenon of ECW will be led by the 7 foot, 500 pound giant, the Big Show.
I don't mind Heyman as a heel for this, like where he wants, a new vision for ECW where the fans would want to see a mixture, but mostly the classic guys. Like, it's not a bad idea. It
No, it's
just
not.
Test and Hardcore Holly are not the guys to put with it.
Yeah, I agree. And the best part of this promo, even though he does a great job here, was he said, the global phenomenon of, the guy that will lead us is the Big Show. And a fan yells out, he's going to retire next year. And he does. He actually, after the show, he only has one more match, and he ends up retiring for about a year after that until he comes back to fight Floyd Mayweather.
Oh my
So,
god, that's hilarious. I didn't hear that.
yeah, he's like, he's gonna retire next year, and like everybody just kind of shouted him down, but
And
it's
Paul
like,
was like, "Fuck it, I know."
God damn, don't spoil it.
That's terrible. But speaking of the Big Show, he heads out here and gets put in his pod with the barbed wire baseball bat. And he was looking at it Negan style, like he was going to end someone.
Yep.
We get Punk coming out, gets a good reaction. His pod has a chair. Test also coming out, who he is fucking huge.
Scary big.
Yeah, he was scary big at this time, but his pod has the crowbar in it. And then Lashley is the last guy in a pod, and his has a table. So that means Holly, Hardcore Holly, and Rob Van Dam start the match in the ring.
Which was a great idea.
Yeah, those were probably the two to do it, unless you were going to put Punk and RVD first, which wouldn't have worked out as well. You know,
Right.
I mean, the wrestling would have been fine, but it would have been the two faces.
Right. And I did write here that a CM Punk chant like was pretty loud and taking over until the fucking Big Shot himself, the hardcore legend, the fucking god of this shit, to quote Nick Gage, the Big Shot Hardcore Holly comes out here.
Yes,
So,
Hardcore Holly is the most over that in this match. I mean, obviously.
with us at least.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah, so then Joey Styles asks a really good question. Why was Hardcore Holly dressed to compete tonight? And then like before he found out he was in the match, and Taz asked, why was he even in the building?
He wasn't supposed to show up for work. Well, obviously, just in case he got put in this fucking match.
Yep. So they're implying that Hardcore Holly was the one that did it, like from what I could figure out. But
yeah, either that or Heyman somehow, you know, his goons might have did it.
Right.
And
but
he had Holly on deck.
He did, and we'll never find out because I don't think they ever explain who did it.
No, probably not. Might be one of those lost plot points there. But instead, you know, Holly's here to have a decent showing with Rob Van Dam for the first 5 minutes. And this starts with wild spots off the get-go, pretty much.
Yeah, this match started hot. My first spot that I wrote was RVD jumped from the top rope to the outside of the cage, or like to the outside, landed on the side of the cage, and then went for a cross body on Hardcore Holly and missed it and went throat first off the ropes.
Yes, it was like a Spider-Man jump where he landed on the cage, the wall. Fencing.
Yeah.
Yes. And then he jumped back like he was going to do his kick thing, which would have been cool. But after that, we get the Rolling Thunder to Hardcore Holly, where he jumps over the ropes to the outside on the steel, which was nice.
Yes, great move.
What else do we have from this?
Hardcore Holly hit a beautiful drop kick as well, like just one of the best in the business.
Yes, he is one of the best in the business in all facets of the game.
Well-rounded individual is Robert Holly.
Yes, Sparky Plug. And then this is where, after 5 minutes pass, we get the first person, which is randomly in air quotes, where the lights shine over the pods, and whichever light it lands on, that's who comes in. And the first man in is CM Punk.
And that gets an absolutely huge pop. And the pop only gets louder when Punk immediately throws a chair into Hardcore Holly's face.
Oh my God, that was disgusting. Yeah. He just fucking whipped it in his face.
It was just, and Hardcore Holly, of course, didn't put his hands up, didn't do anything, completely unprotected to the skull. And it was nasty, but beautiful at the same time.
Yeah. And then Punk, after he ruined Hardcore Holly's face, jumps up onto the top rope and hits a springboard clothesline on RVD. And then it looks like Punk is going to take a page out of RVD's book and throw the chair to RVD and kick it. But instead, RVD catches it, and he's very smart and throws it right back in CM Punk's face, like everybody should do if they get thrown a chair.
Yes, then you need to normalize that spot because it's just genius.
Yeah, and it works perfectly. So after that, they use the chair again here since it's the first weapon brought in. RVD goes for a head kick and misses on Punk, and then he goes for the kick under the in the back of the legs, and Punk jumps into a leg drop onto RVD's head.
And straight out of like the Jerry Lynn playbook, like amazing spot.
Yeah, looked great. And then, so RVD gets planted face first on the chair, and then Punk kicks the chair back in. Oh, this is when the chair's in the corner here.
Yeah.
They put the chair in the corner, and Punk runs RVD's head into it, and then kicks the side into his face.
And oh, dude, it was fucking nasty. And RVD is busted open at this point. He's really selling. And I'm like, this match is starting off so well.
Yeah, it was. And this was going like, I mean, this was fast and furious here real quick. And like right after this, after that spot with the chair, Holly grabs CM Punk and does the like Samoa Joe swing, how he does into the ring apron.
Yeah.
But he does it into the cage. And then Holly does a superplex to Punk. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening here with these three in, and maybe it should just stayed with as a triple threat before Test got in.
Honestly, and RVD started to kick the shit out of Punk, like when Punk went for a bulldog on Holly, and he ran right into like the stiff super kick from RVD. Like this was so good, and we finally get to the point though where it slows down a little bit, but he still does a good job in this match. We get the next entrant coming in, and that is the Punisher, Andrew Martin himself, Test.
Yes, and Test has the crowbar, which he quickly uses on Punk. He hits him in the stomach. And then this was wild. He uses the sharp part of the crowbar on RVD's open wound to make him bleed more, which was a creative spot.
That was one of my favorite spots of the entire night because it was just like it made this match seem like the most extreme match you could have.
It was so logical too, because you'd be like, well, yeah, I mean, just if he's bleeding, why don't we just shove that into his head?
Right.
I mean, it was the most logical move I've seen a wrestler make with a unique weapon like that.
Right. And like I was going to say with that, the crowbar is not a weapon we see much in pro wrestling other than the wrestler Devon Storm, otherwise known as Crowbar.
Yeah, like you really don't.
And he never used a crowbar either. Like missed opportunity.
That's true. You don't see that a lot. So we got it here, and Test used it well. The master of the crowbar himself.
But RVD ends up getting a receipt for that by hitting Test in the head with a chair, which was a protected chair shot to the head.
Mm-hmm.
And then he does an unprotected shot to a down Hardcore Holly, and then he gets a chair surf drop kick in the corner to Punk, like absolutely kills him.
Yes, and then right after that, Punk is rolled to the middle, and RVD hits a 5-star frog splash on him for the first elimination. So the young up-and-comer CM Punk is defeated in the first one out because of Rob Van Dam.
And yeah, the crowd pops at first, but then they started to boo. And I don't know if you'd ever heard of what was going to happen in this match if Paul Heyman would have ran it. So Paul Heyman,
yes, it was Punk was supposed to get a tap out win, right? Real quick.
Yeah, he's supposed to tap out the Big Show immediately.
Well, as much as I think that would be a wild thing to happen, I feel like it should not happen to the Big Show.
Well, Big Show was going to already be on his way out of the company. That's why they're saying,
okay.
Yeah, that's why they're saying like and Big Show is willing to do it too, but like McMahon did not want to push Punk that. Mm-hmm. So he wanted to have somebody else pin the Big Show, the guy that ends up winning this match. We won't give the spoiler right away, but yeah. So like the booking of this match, Heyman wanted Sabu in it, and Heyman wanted Punk to tap out the Big Show, and neither one of those things happened.
Yeah, and I think it would have been cool, like if say the Big Show wasn't leaving, you have Punk start the match against like Hardcore Holly, and within like a minute he taps him out or something.
Right.
Yeah, like I feel like that would make sense, but the Big Show, it's a hard sell to me just because he's so fucking big.
Right.
But it's like he was leaving, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and could you imagine like Punk could get Jericho got mileage off of beating Austin and Rock in one night, which is obviously bigger than this situation, but like you could be like, this guy tapped out the Big Show in just a minute. Like,
yeah, that's true. It gives you something to always put over.
Right.
Yeah, would have been a lot different. Probably would have been. The match itself is not bad, but the decisions were bad.
Yeah, the booking decisions are what hamper it, and this is the first bad booking the first bad booking choice that occurred here.
Yeah, and then We do get a second elimination very shortly after Punk, because Holly is recuperating while Test is measuring Rob Van Dam for a big kick, but instead Test turns and hits his ally Hardcore Holly with the big boot and gets a botched pin count for the 3.
Which just didn't make any sense at all to me. Why he would want to turn on his partner, why Holly got pinned after just one big boot, and why they botched the count.
Yeah, the botch count, I think you can kind of hear Hardcore Holly say, "Do I kick out?"
Oh, really?
I kind of heard that. Maybe I was just hearing things, but I swear I heard him say, like, "Do I kick out?" or,
Oh, wow.
whatever. And then that's why the ref was just like, "No, get the fuck out of here." Like, he just gave him the 3 and, it went on. But it leads to better than I expected action from RVD and Test.
Yeah, we get RVD hits a top rope kick on Test. He goes for and that's when he goes to climb the pod to do a move off of, and he decides, because baby faces always have to be dumb, he decides to do it off of Big Show's pod, and not just do that, but also decides to flip him off before he does it.
Which was great. It always gets a pop. He gave the finger right to Big Show's face because he knew, he couldn't get him through the pod.
Right.
But he did grab his foot because there's just a chain link on the top when he got up there. So I kind of hoped that was going to happen. I didn't want Big Show to just be like, all right, use the top of my pod on my boy here.
Right.
So at least he stopped RVD. But then we get some fucking wild shit here because Test hits a chair shot to the leg and then the side of the head of RVD.
Unprotected.
And then just tosses him off the pod 10 feet.
By his hair.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
Yeah.
And then Test, this man, gets on top of... This man's 6'6", 280. He jumps on top of this pod where Show's at, and Show's like, yeah, do it to him. And Test fucking... He has the chair with him, correct?
The chair, I think, is already down on top of RVD's face.
Okay, so the chair is down on top of RVD's face, and Test goes to... He hits this fucking wild elbow right to the face of RVD, and it looks like he squishes him.
Oh my god, this was the bump of the night, I thought. Off the top of the pod, you got this big motherfucker full of muscle. And it was a graceful elbow drop too. But the landing was fucking terrifying. It looked like he killed RVD.
Yeah, it looked like he was gonna have, the Negan aftermath all over the mat there. We were gonna have a Rob Van Dam fucking head splatter. But this was a wild ass spot, and good for Test for trying to get himself over.
Right. The man always worked hard, and I think now he's really starting to get a bit of a following with people that are I've always liked Test, or Test was really, really good actually. And I don't think he was ever really a good he was okay, but it's cool to see that he gets, after the Attitude Era and everything happened, he gets a little bit of recognition.
Was his move the pump handle slam?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that was good.
Yes.
I'm happy that move was
in his big boot too. I think he stopped using that and he started using the TKO.
Gotcha.
But,
yeah, but so Test looking strong here, pins RVD, which he gets met with bullshit chants after holy shit chants from the elbow.
Yeah,
we go from holy shit to bullshit.
Yep. And the two guys that the crowd actually wanted to win the match, Punk, who was number 1, and number 2 was RVD, are now both eliminated.
Yeah, very early here because we still have Lashley and Show in their pods. So Lashley here is going to be the next man supposed to come out of his pod, but Heyman's henchmen, the two guys in the riot gear, push the ref out of the way and throw him down and try to lock Lashley back in his pod before he can get out.
Right. And this was actually something where I was first why are they doing that? But it makes sense. They would want Big Show to come out. Like they would want to wait till Big Show came out and then like let him out, and then it would be 2-on-1.
Yes, it was 2-on-1 there. You know, they would have had that if Lashley didn't show his superhuman strength, because the table,
Yeah.
the table that is in his pod is then used to break the top of the chains, and then Lashley climbs out to test dismay.
Yes, it was great athleticism by Bobby Lashley, but sadly it was met with some "Where's our refunds?" chants.
Oh no, I didn't hear that.
Yep.
That's not good.
No, and I'm like, these guys are working hard though, because like Lashley comes off the top rope with like this nice flying clothesline.
Mm-hmm.
Like he Irish whips Test into the pod, into the table that's in the pod, like, and breaks the table.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. You know, these guys were working hard. It was just the booking, you know, really handicapped these guys here. But Lashley does look very, very strong throughout this.
He does, and that's why, you know, this was Vince McMahon's next Superman. You had like Cena on Raw, you had Batista on SmackDown, and now you have Lashley on ECW.
And I that's like what I remember too, though. Like,
right,
you know, from being around that time, was that Lashley was the ECW champion, and he's probably besides for maybe Christian or Matt Hardy, was like the champion of WWE ECW.
Yeah, like he'll be remembered definitely for that. I forgot that Matt Hardy was WWE ECW champion. Actually,
he had a pretty long run.
He did. I forgot about that. That was a nice run too. Like that was when it was getting pretty good. I know Tommy Dreamer had a random run too in there, and I know Ezekiel Jackson was the last WWE ECW champion.
Yes, he was. Oh God, that's wild. So here we have where did we cover here that Test is getting whipped into the pods and breaking the glass?
No, not yet. He eventually, I just got like the first whip, but then eventually they whip him into the other pod.
Yeah, and then, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
So just looking at this in a vacuum, you know, without knowing the stories that are going on really behind or after this, my note was Lashley's the fucking man, and then he kicked the chair in Test's head, which further cemented the fucking man.
And unfortunately, you both suck chance.
Which was wrong for this match. This might be Test's best performance.
Yeah, like they were going off, and I feel bad for him, but it's just the fact that the booking, like they didn't want to see either one of these men win, and they didn't want to see the Big Show win either. So, but these guys were working hard.
Yeah, and the hard work pays off here for Bobby Lashley, because he uses the crowbar and then spears Test for a pin, and Big Show is not even out of his pod yet, and has to realize that Bobby Lashley is standing there with a chair waiting for him.
Yes, and Lashley, like he emotes really well here, which is surprising for him in that era, by he throwing the table at the pod in anger.
Yeah, he's ready to like fuck Big Show up really quick, and he just kept throwing weapons at Big Show's pod until the pod finally opens, and I think this is where Paul Heyman was like giving a pep talk right before the pod opened.
Oh man, it was amazing. He's like, "You're 7 foot tall. You're 500 pounds." Like, I can just imagine being a athlete that's being coached, where they're like, "Listen, this is your height and this is your weight. Now go get them."
He's just listing off his measurables. He's just like, "Go out there now, kid.
You have a size 21 foot."
Yeah, seriously. But he also has a barbed wire baseball bat, which also helps, because Show comes out swinging it like Barry Bonds.
Yes, a great spot with Lashley using the chair to defend the swings from Big Show.
Yes, he was using it. It was like a sword versus shield right there. And Show was swinging the bat and kind of chases Lashley to the outside of the ring, where Show goes for a kill shot and gets the bat stuck in the chain link when Lashley moves. So that helped escape near death from the barbed wire baseball bat.
Yes, and unfortunately, we did not get another appearance from the barbed wire baseball bat for the rest of the night. Like, you think that maybe Lashley using that would have got a big pop?
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe they were thinking it's more impressive if he beat him without using something like that.
Yeah, that's possible too. But
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of why they wouldn't. They hyped
Right.
that one up a lot on commentary and then didn't really use it.
Right. It is a bit confusing there, but that might be the logic as to why. But yeah, we get that where Show misses with the bat and then ends up getting it gives Lashley time where Lashley gets the chair shot to the torso, which is one of my favorite Big Show spots.
Yeah, dude, that's a wild spot. Every time I see it, I'm like, I can't believe this happens.
Yeah, like he could easily break a rib doing that, but good for him for wanting to take that.
Yeah, and then Lashley throws Big Show through a pod, and Show starts bleeding pretty badly. And when Heyman realizes that Big Show is bleeding, he yells, "Fight for your life!" which was great.
Yeah, I wrote that Heyman just starts screaming nonsense. Like I love it. He's so good. Like
I
even
can't believe he yelled, "Fight for your life."
he's just. I wish that they would have somehow let Paul Heyman get into the chamber for this.
Oh my God! Yeah, or if Lashley would have grabbed him like by the shirt and started pulling him up the chamber or something.
That would have been amazing. Oh my God, I would have loved a missed opportunity right there.
Yeah, and then if Heyman wasn't sent home, maybe he could have speared him on ECW that Tuesday or something.
Right.
But instead, Heyman's just out.
Yeah, and so Heyman resigned to watching his champion get destroyed, but Big Show finally takes advantage, goes for a choke slam, but it's reversed into a very nice DDT by Lashley.
Yes, and that leads to that DDT helps Lashley set up Show for the spear, and that is all she wrote. I thought we were going to see the 500-pound Dominator.
Oh man, that would have been incredible.
I know that'll never happen, probably.
No.
I don't think it ever did, but I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, if he hits this, I will lose my shit.
The danger involved of that, but it would have been great. Even the running power slam, could you imagine?
Yeah. That would have been great, but very clean win for Lashley here. It's his big coronation. Heyman looks defeated on the outside of the ring, both in real life and in storyline.
In the other idea that Heyman had was having Lashley turn heel and side with Heyman and beat Punk or RVD for the belt. Like he would be the one that would eliminate and be the heel at the end. But McMahon wanted Bobby Lashley babyface celebration at the end, so which we definitely get.
Yeah, a lot of pyro. Lashley holding up the belt with the pyro. The good shot for all the 8x10s and for the video packages that would ensue. But looking at this match, I mean, like the booking is bad, but the match is good.
Yeah, like the all of the action is good. All the guys work hard to make it work. The weapons are used for the most part, except the table and the bat. Mm-hmm. They're used to their full potential, but it's just the booking killed it. And I feel bad for these guys because they really worked hard.
Yeah, like I came away from this paper. If I had to give it out of 10, maybe like a 4.5.
Damn, you were impressed.
I mean, just because the extreme, like, because I'm not involved in any of the storylines, so I give it, if I'm looking at the storylines, it's probably like a 2.
Right.
But if you just watch it in a vacuum, in like a little bubble, it's just this show.
Right.
The first match, while it's long, it's good, and
True.
the last match is pretty good, and you get, not great stuff in the middle, but the last 2 were okay enough to get it. It's still below average. It's still 4 out of 10, but there were some redeeming qualities.
What was it better than the other show we gave a 4 out of 10, the TNA's first event?
I would rather watch this than that, I think.
Oh, I love it. I love the take.
I think so. I can't remember every match now, but I just only remember the X Division being good.
You mean you don't want to watch the Dups?
No, see, yeah, I would take every time, I think.
I, I I would probably have to agree with you, to be quite honest. I mean, I thought that this was awful, but this was not the worst show that I've ever seen. There was a lot of hard work involved. The top two matches were watchable, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was good. The second one had a lot of good action, and I had actually seen the main event before. And I didn't mind it. I hated the booking, but like the matches itself were not terrible.
Yeah, if you would have eliminated some of the bad ones in the middle, you could have got to a 5 here. If you would have threw one more good match in there for me.
Yeah, just anything. Like you think you'd just bring a cruiserweight over or something, like
If you could
somebody
have
to do
brought
some
like
flips.
Too Cold Scorpio or somebody in. I don't
Ye-
even know. One of the ECW guys.
Yeah, I mean, we saw. Was it better than Hardcore Justice?
Ooh, probably.
Oh,
Maybe. I don't know though. I have to like look at it again because I can't think of all the match card, right at one time.
right. I'm just kind of going over some of these other ones because, after all, it is our first anniversary episode, so we got some stuff to compare it to.
Yes.
But
So okay, so enough of the enough of December to Dismember. Let's try to erase that from our minds. And just so you know, Kenny Omega is the AEW champion.
let's
Um,
go.
so I'm going to pull up my podcast app right now and look at our episodes. If you have a top 3 off the top of your head, what were your favorite things to cover in year one?
I think the Broken Hearties was my favorite for sure.
Okay.
My one of my favorite episodes, even though it wasn't my favorite thing to watch, was the TNA's first show.
Okay.
And I also really enjoyed, which I was shocked by. I don't think it's my top 3, but I loved the Kevin Federline episode in a vacuum because
Yes. Yeah.
it was surprisingly good. It's just I like being able to go back and look at something and be like, wow, this is good. And to me, that's like our unappreciated child because
Yep.
like it's one of our least viewed episodes, which I can understand why people don't want to go back and hear about Kevin Federline in WWE, but I think it was a really good episode.
So, do you know what I'm going to say my favorite episode is?
Absolutely. Yes.
Do you know?
Yes. It's
Yep, it's
go ahead.
Joker Sting.
Yep.
Shout out to my boy Leslie for bringing that out because Joker Sting, the whole thing was ridiculous. That's probably number one for me.
That's one of my favorites too. We had a great time during that.
I'm looking back. Top 3 it probably has to be the Dark Wedding.
Yes, I
because we
forgot.
got to do that with Jimmy.
I think that's my number 3 actually. My
And
number
then
3 would be Jimmy
yeah,
because mainly because of Jimmy and the Dark Wedding and great episode.
and then at number, the last spot in the top 3, there's like 3 of them that stand out to me. So going all the way back to episode 2, the Kurt Angle, Booker T, and Charmel situation,
Yes.
and then the other 2 would be, where was it? Dennis Rodman, just because that was a very deep dive into the Dennis Rodman WCW stuff.
Yeah, that was probably our longest episode too. That was like a good 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and it was just it was cool to see his interactions there, and then Pillman's got a gun.
That is another one of our more underrated episodes, I think.
Yes, just that whole segment in general just it is awesome. But the the hidden gem within ours, I feel like, is that DX trilogy is a fun listen, for 3 parts too.
It is, and we have some other 3-parters that at least one other 3-parter that we might do next year. We've already been planning,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think that that's a good list of favorites. Do you have any of your least favorite episodes?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, do you have any?
So my number one would be the Claire Lynch, and not because of the quality of our recording, but because of the quality of what I had to watch.
Yeah,
It,
so the Claire Lynch stuff is definitely probably the hardest. Let's not put it as our least favorite. Let's say it was the hardest to get through, to watch, to record.
yeah, which is funny because it's one of our highest rated episodes, like of people going back and listening to, which is wild. But I
I definitely agree that that was like the hardest to watch, but I think the episode came like our talking about it was done well,
right.
compared to what we were covering, just of the ridiculous of it.
Right. The only other one that I could really remember not liking was the Shelton Benjamin's Mama one because I didn't watch all of the stuff and I felt ill prepared and I felt like I let you down in that because I'm like you had to kind of lead me through it and I'm like shit. I wish I would have went back and watched more of it. So that's mainly the only one that I'm like, man, if we could have that one back someday.
The Sean Benjamin's mama thing was funny too because she played that
Yeah,
role so well. We
she
praised
did.
her heavily through that.
She did. She
Um,
deserved it. The Kerwin White one was rough to watch too.
oh yeah, it was that was a rough one. But then and one of these other ones that I can't believe this is one of our maybe top 10 episodes for downloads is the wrestling album.
Yeah, that was fun though. I had a great time doing that one. But yeah, I was surprised. That was one of the ones that was really enjoyed, and I think that we kind of started to get more of a following around that time.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and we've been fortunate enough where it's grown enough to where at this point we'll probably be at 200 Twitter followers, which is just amazing. And the fact that our downloads have consistently gone up all year, like, is just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, and we hope it's only going to get better from here because uh, at the end of the year, I might just put out a random short episode of us, or even if it's just one of us talking about some of the schedule changes we've been discussing for the 2021 year. As we start to look ahead here, it's been a great year. There's a lot of good stuff we covered, but we do want to try to get to have more full length episodes also, and then some bonus stuff for you. So
Right, right. And I don't know if you want to talk about it now at all, or just we'll save that.
no, we could hit it at the last episode of the year, I guess, or
Okay,
just
that
add
sounds good to me.
or
Yeah.
just add like a little 10-minute thing talking about it at the end. But we'll get to that when we get to it after the December 30th, I believe, episode, which is the Wrestling Society X episodes, which is going to be awesome.
That might be one of my new favorites, I think, if we end up doing it, because holy shit. I've seen it. I've seen the first episode before. I'm so excited to see like the second one and see where it went off from there.
Yeah, I'm ready to see that because I've heard about the whole concept, and I like the concept. Like I really do believe that MTV is a place wrestling should be,
Right.
and I think that at that time, maybe if it happened in the early 2000s, it would have worked better when like pop punk and punk music was more on the radio, and because I feel like that culture lends itself well to MTV and pro wrestling, so that could have been a good collaboration.
I agree.
And that's why
Absolutely.
I think that's why I like that the concept a lot, because that's some of my favorite music, and obviously wrestling is one of my favorite things. So it works out well for me, but I haven't seen the episode yet, so we'll see how it actually turns out.
Yes, and I did think like it would have been a cool to go back on our WWECW. I thought that that would have been a cool channel to be on instead of Sci-Fi, where you get to be on
Mhm.
MTV and have a little bit more of that attitude.
Yeah, that does actually sound like a great fit for there. Um, I think I really do still think MTV is a place where wrestling should be. Were they the ones that did Lucha Libre USA?
I think they might have been on MTV too.
Okay. Because it's just like for some reason I feel like MTV is where wrestling should work. Like a smaller wrestling company like a TNA or, like a Ring of Honor would have worked well there. But for some reason, it's just not worked out for them.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe the executives are not fans of it or what the deal is there, but like you said, it seems like it'd be a great place for um like that or FX, but would be
Mhm.
really good too. But like especially MTV, because with even just back to the rock and wrestling days in the
Yeah.
80s, like it seems like like you said, it would be a great place for WWE to like run a special every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Um, we'll get more into depth into that. I'm really looking forward to that episode. When I finish watching December to Dismember today, I YouTubed those really quick. I didn't realize they were only like 25-minute episodes.
Yeah, they're
Um,
quick.
yeah, but I found the whole playlist with all 10 episodes, so I'm excited. I was about to start watching them, and I was like, let's not overload ourselves right now.
Yeah, take it one at a time. You got to finish your December to Dismember meal first.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, so we are going to have some, some announcements coming up here about what we're going to be doing in 2021. But for now, December to Dismember was something. I think it was about what I thought it was going to be. I thought some of the matches were a little bit better than I expected, but overall, still not a great show.
no, but it was definitely worth the review.
Yes.
And something also worth the review next week will be our second ever hidden gem. This one is mine. It will be Shawn Michaels versus Kane at Unforgiven 2004.
Yeah, that's going to be an exciting one. I feel like it's going to be good.
I agree. I think that's definitely going to be one that because I used to have like to not to get into it real quick, but the first DVD of wrestling that I ever got was Unforgiven '04 from the
Mm.
Walmart bargain bin. So, and I remember this match, and I can't wait to watch it back.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it, so I'm ready to see that. And then, um, let's see. After that, we have Wrestling Society X, and the year's over. So it's gonna be a hell of a ride the next 2 weeks. But everybody, if you again, if you have something you want us to cover, we always bring up Leslie because he was the one that said Joker Sting, and we got down the schedule, and we were very happy about it.
Hmm.
So if you leave a written review, 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we'll be able to, throw in your suggestion for what we should cover, and we will 100% get it on there, and let you know if you like reach out to us on Twitter or something, and we will have it on there. So 5-star written review gets you, an episode topic that we'll throw on the schedule.
Yes, immediately too, like very quickly.
Yeah, this is the
So
time to do it because we were planning out stuff now. Everything can be moved a little bit.
right, yeah, we got some good stuff coming. Not to spoil it, I won't spoil anything, but we got some good stuff coming throughout the beginning of the new year.
Yes. So, we'll keep you up to date on our socials. You can follow us on Instagram at Stranger Rings Pod, on Twitter, Stranger Rings 1. And Tom, you got anything else before we depart for until next week?
It was just a great show, man. I was happy to be able to talk about the gloriousness of Big Shot Bob Holly once again.
And I was happy to see all these, young guys that were on ECW too. So
Yes.
that was always fun. So yeah, it was a good time. It was definitely something I had never watched that event, and I probably won't for a very long time. But I could maybe watch the Extreme Elimination Chamber randomly and still be okay with it.
Right. And we'll still be watching the Hardys and Eminem because it's still going.
Yeah, when I go upstairs and turn on my TV, I'm sure it'll be the first thing that pops up. Oh my God. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week with the hidden gem there, Kane and Shawn Michaels. We will see you then.